This brief video is to share some history of the historic Davenport Hotel, opened in 1907 at 324 Main Street in downtown Davenport, Iowa. The proprietors were James Gorman and William Hudson Harrison. Like many hotels of the period, it was touted as being absolutely fireproof. Less than a decade later, in 1915, the hotel would have a new owner, Miller Hotel Company, and soon was part of the chain of Blackhawk Hotels. The group owned several other hotels in Iowa as well as the Hotel St. Paul, located in Minnesota and still operating as a first-class hotel today. In January 1939, a fire occurred on the top two floors of the hotel. It was promptly repaired and operations continued. It remained a hotel for decades to follow but would, like many hotels of its age, fall into decline. In the mid-1970s, the hotel became subsidized elderly housing. It again fell victim to a second-floor fire in 1983. In the same year, the building was listed in the National Register of Historic Places. The hotel would receive a $5.5 million facelift in 1985 and reopen as the Davenport Landmark Apartments in 1987. The once 150-room hotel was now a luxury 78-unit apartment building complete with a lobby fountain. Rental rates started in the 300s. An aging hotel reborn as luxury apartments in the 1980s would likely succumb to the same fate as the decades passed. In 2021, the building ownership transferred to Davenport Hotel LLC, which is owned by Andrew Wold. Per Davenport City records, as recently as February 2023, the building was deemed a public hazard. However, city documents released show significant structural issues dating back to inspections from 2020. On Sunday, May 23, 2023, there was a partial collapse of the back section of the building and Brandon Colden Sr., Ryan Hitchcock and Daniel Preen died in what appears to have been a completely preventable tragedy had proper action been taken sooner. On Monday, June 12, demolition of the historic structure commenced, marking the final chapter of the hotel and apartment building. The Davenport once showcased the ability of private and public sectors to preserve a structure while providing a service to the community in terms of apartments. The investments of the 1980s turned around an aging building, but the neglect in the decades that followed ultimately caused its tragic demise. The same city and private sector had another opportunity with the former Clayton House Hotel. Located just a half-mile away, the Clayton House opened in 1964. It later became the Best Western Riverview, and in 1999, the hotel received a $6 million facelift and was rebranded as a Clarion Hotel. It only operated as such for 5 years, closing in 2004. It would become the Howard Johnson Plaza Hotel before closing permanently in 2009. The 6-story hotel, having been renovated just 10 years earlier, would sit vacant for 6 more years before being demolished in 2015. In city after city around the country, where housing is often expensive or in short supply, it begs the question, why was this hotel not saved through a partnership between the city and the owner? Instead, the property was demolished, and 8 years later, the site remains vacant. The 1980s renovation of the Davenport is the model we need to see more often to save buildings, not destroy them. But that same sense of accomplishment must continue in order to prevent tragedies and loss of life like the one in Davenport. This video is dedicated to the family and friends of the lives lost in the collapse.